Hey everybody, it's Sarah. It's my channel Beautiful Disaster. It's at night, as you can see. I've had my shower and my hair's all Medusa-ing on me and everything. But a little bit of a predicate here. A lot of people on my friends list have been posting all of these things for. I mean, I know a lot of people who advocate for mental health rights and everything, and that's probably why a lot of my friends are posting this. But a lot of people posting about how suicide is uh, what do you put it? That it's not selfish, that it's a symptom of something, of depression. That people who take their own lives are still strong people, and things of that nature. All of that stuff's very true. However, let me tell you a little bit of a story, and then I will tell you from that why I personally believe that suicide is the ultimate of selfish acts. So let me tell you a story. Let's go back, okay? I knew this girl in 2007. Really, really long history of trauma, okay? Complex PTSD already at the age of 21 at this point. Part of the trauma history was sexual violence and early childhood sexual violence, I might add. So, and not that it had ever been dealt with in therapy or anything of that nature. Went through a really nasty breakup with the first guy that she ever voluntarily let do anything to her. So there was kind of this overarching feeling of stupidity that, my body is my temple, and oh my God, I let someone violate it, and oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I'm horrible, and I've kind of lost this chunk of myself. And what it culminated in was a suicide attempt, right? Trying to, I mean, I won't run you through the details, but essentially what it came down to was, that's it, I'm done. Like, I have officially given away a chunk of my soul. I am done. I need to also add here that this whole thing had culminated in a pregnancy, first pregnancy, I might add, that then also led to first miscarriage, and the miscarriage was actually going on during said suicide attempt. There's no real easy way for me to say this other than to tell you that I say that that was a girl that I knew because I don't identify with who I was then. Um, but let me tell you how this would have rolled. I left a note on my desk. And so when I say that suicide is selfish, I am going to tell you why I think it is from my perspective of how selfish mine was or could have been. All right. The next day, so I worked nights, right? This was 11 o'clock at night, and I tried to slam my car into a brick wall on the freeway. I was 21. I was almost 22. Said guy had left me a Dear John letter, essentially. Oh my God, I'm gonna love you. Oh my God, I'm gonna miss you. Told me everything I wanted to hear, right? And then ditched. Never talked to me again. Or well, he's talked to me since, but anyway, at that point we had not connected, and he was gone, just gone, right? So the reality is, my father that morning, my dad and I had a really tumultuous relationship, but that morning I think he sensed something was off, and he begged me, my dad, to stay home. And I didn't. I'd already left the note on my desk in my bedroom. So let me tell you how this would have happened. I would have gone through a windshield at about 100 miles an hour, right? And I would have died. My mother would have spent the rest of her life wondering if there was something she could have done to have stopped me. My father would have spent the rest of his life wishing he had begged me more, that he had gone out and dismantled my car, that he had done anything he could in his power to keep me in the house that day. My sisters, my youngest sister was pregnant with my niece at the time, my sisters would have then at that point been 3.16 times more likely to commit suicide in the first year following my death. My parents and my siblings would have walked up to my bedroom after I hadn't called them at 12 o'clock at night and they hadn't found out that I was gone yet, found my note and been frantically trying to figure out how to save my life. They would have called my job, who would have told them I was already gone for the day. And then they would have turned on the TV and they would have heard the news that a car crash had just happened on I-75 going northbound. Southbound, I'm sorry. And that it was the description of my vehicle and that I had died. My youngest sister was pregnant with my now 12-year-old niece, who never would have known me. And my nephew, who was born several years later, would not have known I had ever existed. Neither one of them. My twin sister, more than likely of the two of my siblings, simply because of her genetic makeup and chemistry, the fact that she deals with clinical depression, likely would have killed herself within the first 6 months of my death. My parents were also way more likely to do so. It is impossible to see the forest for the trees when you're going through trauma. I even think about it now on occasion. My husband, who at the time I was not even dating, who was one of my better friends, honestly, through the entirety of that breakup, never would have known what it was like to be with me, ever. We hadn't even started talking about, trying to date. So Alex and I talked on the phone literally every day from the beginning of 2008 until the beginning of 2009 when I finally flew out and met him and the whole kind of thing slewed. He used to joke that had I not come along, he would have rotted in bed for 2 weeks until someone finally realized he was gone. And you can all think that I'm, that he was wrong about that I wasn't, the be-all, end-all. I was Alex's first girlfriend, and obviously, first and last girlfriend, and first and last wife. And I was the one who was there at the end of his life. I was there at the end. I wasn't there in the room when he took his last breath, but I was there to make sure that he didn't suffer any further than he needed to. I would have robbed him of that. I would have robbed him of dignity in his death simply by not being there. Simply by not being able to even see the good things that were coming in my life because I was too enwrapped in what was going on in my life in that moment. I did not care that the people who I have been able to help in my career, I wasn't a social worker yet. I hadn't even started college yet when this happened. The lives I've been able to touch and the people I've been able to help, other people would have been there, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have been helped at all, but the things I'm most proud of in my life never would have happened. The success stories I've seen never would have happened. I would not have been the first person, along with Shannon, to graduate from college on my dad's side of the family. I wouldn't have been able to have finally seen that look of pride on my father's face when I walked down that walkway with that degree in my hand, because I was showing him as much as anyone else that I could do it. That never would have happened. My sister probably wouldn't have wound up walking on that either, because she likely would have been dead, as I already said, but had she not, she would have been walking down that pedestal wondering what it would have been like if her twin sister was there with her. My youngest sister, not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, Holly called me, and I wasn't able to help my niece with her homework, unfortunately, but because I'm the epitome of all knowledge when it comes to Greek mythology, Holly called me for assistance for my niece because she was doing a project at school about Greek mythology, and Rara is who you want to talk to. Had I done what I had intended to do that day, my sister would have instead had to have looked up at the ceiling and went, wow, I wish Sarah was here. And my niece never would have known what she missed, and neither would my nephew when it came to all the other things that I can potentially assist with in those areas. Both of my sisters would have probably had a phone conversation about how, oh my God, I wonder what would happen if Sarah was here. She'd have known this answer. The people that I know now and that I love and that I care about would never even have known I existed. Not that that's, people wouldn't have known what they were missing out on, but think about it. Think about all of the different ways that we ripple in our existence and how the removal of that ripple is one of the most selfish things you can do. For me, the act of removing myself from my life wasn't just removing myself from my life. It would have literally rippled out and affected every single person I had touched to that point or could have touched in the entirety of my life. So when I say that suicide is selfish, mine was selfish. My attempt was selfish. The attempts that I had made sense. And even to this day, when the thought riles up, and it hasn't for a while, thankfully, but when it had last, the first thought that went through my head was, my mom would kill me. My mom would seance my ass back here so fast and kill me again. But more so, my mother would have woken up the next morning without one of her children. My sisters would wake up the next morning wondering if there was something they could have said or something they could have done to have stopped me. My friends would never understand what had happened. The potential people in my life would have never have known what they were missing out on. And by the way, I mean, I'm not always my biggest fan, but I do know that I bring a lot to the table, so whatever. But those are the things that I think about now. You cannot see the forest for the trees when you are going through something difficult. So be mindful of that. Whenever you say suicide is a symptom, it's the culmination of strength. It's not. It takes a lot to fight the demons in your head, don't get me wrong. And it can be damn near impossible to see how your loss will affect those around you. And one of my favorite quotes is, suicide does not end pain, it transfers it. Think about it. The Hemingway family. How many suicides have they had now? Like one per generation? Because the chance of suicide goes up with each iteration. It's impossible to not see it as literally one of the worst acts you can possibly engage in. So don't throw at me or in my general direction that suicide isn't selfish. Because I think that's what survivors of suicide like to tell themselves so that it doesn't fucking kill them. Literally. So, that's just my take on it. Have a nice night.